New York Comic Con 2025 is just around the corner. Are you prepared? I've got everything you need to know in this essential guide to the con. Hey Q Crew, it's Juliet at Juliet and Beyond. I am your guide to fandom adventures around the globe, and our next fandom adventure is to New York Comic Con. I love attending New York Comic Con especially because in addition to being in my home state, so I was born and raised in New York, I think that this event really hits the right mix of where it's got those huge, really splashy panels and a great size of show floor, but at the same time, it's not quite as overwhelming and as intimidating as San Diego Comic Con, so there's not quite as much to know. Now, that being said, like any convention, especially Comic-Cons, there still is a decent onboarding curve, particularly if you're a first timer. So I'm gonna shortcut all the learnings that I had for you in attending New York Comic Con in this quick, easy to digest video for you. By the way, if you wanna see what actually is happening at New York Comic Con this year and what it's like to attend, make sure you hit the subscribe button. I'm gonna be there for the entire 4 days. They're actually hosting me as a content creator, which I am super excited about. And I've got a blended vlog, informational style video where you're gonna get to see the experience of what the whole weekend was like. First up, let's start out with some basics that you need to know about the con, and then we'll get into the 7 essential tips. New York Comic Con was first held back in 2006, making it one of the newer cons in the Comic-Con circuit, and it's held every year at the Jacob Javits Center, which is located in Hell's Kitchen in New York. Now, believe it or not, this is actually the single biggest con in North America. I always thought that it was San Diego Comic Con, but this one outnumbers it by about 70,000 people. So New York Comic Con attracts 200,000 visitors every single year. It's huge. This year's New York Comic Con, aka NYCC, is gonna be held October 9th through 12th, stretches across 4 days, like always. And there's more than 100 attendees slated as guests on the lineup, including George R.R. Martin. This is definitely a packed lineup, but we have to be nice to George R.R. Martin so that he attends future conventions. Okay, let's be nice to that guy. As of recording this video, the Thursday day tickets were still available for single day tickets. Everything else, including the 4-day ticket type, has already been sold out. Now, if you're watching this video and you're planning for New York Comic Con 2026, good on you, you are a preparer. Know that the tickets typically go on sale around June each year. And the best way to really understand exactly when the tickets are gonna drop on any given year is to follow New York Comic Con on one of their official channels. So you can either sign up for the email list, but I also follow them on Instagram, which is where I get a lot of updates, and they also post pretty regularly on Threads as well. 4-day tickets will cost you $280, but single day tickets will only cost you around $85. The only really hard tickets to get for New York Comic Con, I would say, are the VIP ticket badges and then the 4-day badge. So you're really hoping to attend the entire event, you do want to make sure you're really early there in the purchasing process. You kind of want to be there as soon as the tickets drop if you want a chance at getting the 4-day pass. If you're only interested in just picking up a single day pass, you've got a lot more flexibility there. The only single day pass that typically sells out instantly is the Saturday pass. Picking up a Thursday, a Friday, or a Sunday badge is honestly pretty easy as long as you're there anywhere in the couple opening weeks of the ticket sale. That's your basic NYCC dump. Now let's head into those specific tips. Number 1, getting around. So if you have not booked your hotel yet for New York Comic Con, I will tell you that one of my biggest tips for the weekend is just staying as close as you can to the Jacob Javits Center. So for me, I always try to prioritize finding a hotel that is within walking distance of the convention center. Now I know obviously that can sometimes be challenging on the budget, but if you can make it work, I will tell you, I end up saving more money by not having to take other transit options, even though they're out there over the course of the whole con weekend. If you're not within walking distance of the convention, the good news is that there are a ton of ways to get down to the convention because, yeah, well, of course, you're in New York. It's like transit central of the United States. Everything that you'd expect from New York, so bus and subway are both a good option for you. If you're someone who's intimidated by the idea of using New York City Transit, it has honestly gotten so simple now thanks to technology. My single biggest tip for you, just make sure you have Google Maps on your phone. Use it for anywhere you want to get to in the city, and it'll give you step-by-step directions for how to use the bus or subway, making it very simple. Here's the special modifier for the conventions that I'm going to add. If you are someone who is cosplaying, just think about what the experience is going to be like of wearing that if you're hopping on the subway. Sometimes I'll wear cosplays that are a little more sexy. I'm definitely not wearing those in the subway. I'm definitely not going to be comfortable getting on the bus in those. Also, it may not be safe for your cosplay either because there's a good chance it could get damaged or squished if you're in big crowds. So really the best bet, if you're someone who's going to be coming in a bigger, bulkier, or more revealing cosplay, I really would recommend either taking a taxi, a Lyft, or an Uber. If you're planning on taking private transit, just know that these rates in New York City are definitely probably more expensive than they are in your hometown. Make sure your budget works accordingly. Number 2, 2, make those reservations. You're gonna need to get on making reservations for New York Comic Con. Yeah, right now, actually. Log into the New York Comic Con website, just make sure you know your badge number and get on booking those reservations. Now, you need reservations for a few different types of experiences. Those are autographs, photo ops, New York Comic Con panels, and then also exclusives. This year, it's the Funko exclusives. If you're hoping to do any kind of meet and greet with a celebrity, you really want to make sure you pre-book that experience before you arrive at the convention. By the way, all these autographs and photo ops are an additional fee, but all the pricing and information is all listed right inside the portal there, so you can see what your options are. There is an option to book these on sites once you actually arrive at the con, but the odds of you getting to meet the exact person that you want to, I think they go way down. So just go through the reservation process and secure that autograph or photo op now. As for exclusive merch, the only exclusive you need to register for this year is the Funko exclusives, and you can only reserve one time slot for the entire show. Panel reservations are where things get a little bit more tricky. So you only need to make panel reservations for 2 stages. That's the Empire stage and the main stage. And as you kind of expect, yep, those are the single biggest rooms, and as a result of that, where the biggest panels of the whole weekend are gonna be held. You can only make panel reservations for yourself, so you can't just go ahead and reserve panels for you and your 5 closest friends. But once you have that reservation booked, it guarantees you a seat, which means, yeah, you have a guaranteed chance of experiencing exactly what you want to over the course of the weekend. So they are a really good thing. You're able to reserve 4 panels for Thursday, 5 panels for Friday and Saturday, and then 3 panels for Sunday. Even with a reservation, you still need to arrive at least 35 minutes before the panel start time to ensure that your reservation is gonna be honored. Otherwise, they'll start filling in seats from the standby line. Now that does get me to what happens if I don't get the reservation that I really want for a panel I want to attend. Last year for me, that was the Dune panel. I was like, I will lose my mind if I don't get into the Dune panel and I didn't get a reservation. So on the website, they do say that there is a very limited standby line. But truthfully, in my experience, as long as you arrive early enough, you still have a pretty good chance of getting in. Honestly, I've gotten into basically every panel that I've wanted to see on the Empire stage and the main stage by just getting in the standby line early enough. That being said, reservations make your life a lot easier. They shortcut that whole process. They've got a whole separate line. So take advantage of the reservations. Definitely try to book the things you want, but don't totally despair if things don't work out. You still can get into the shows and the panels that you want. You just gotta wait a little longer. Number 3, pack smart for the day. So honestly, this tip really applies to pretty much any convention you can attend, but I cannot leave it out of the list, okay? Because this is make or break to having a good con experience. You really want to make sure that you have the right kit with you. The days that I have forgotten my essentials, those are not my best con days. So for me, my number 1 must essential in my bag has to be a good rechargeable battery. Your phone gets drained so fast. I think it's like all the photos, the videos, and then running some of those specialized apps. Your phone's gonna be dead before you know it. You just need a rechargeable battery. This is a thing that like I cannot get through the weekend without. I also like to bring a refillable water bottle and some light snacks. For me, I usually like to bring energy bars because I'm not gonna be eating like a full meal of snacks out of my bag, but having something that's like a grab and go option for breakfast, or if I just get a little bit hungry standing in a line, yeah, those are just like the perfect amount of food to carry you over. Comfortable shoes are always great if you can manage them. I know they don't always work for my cosplay fans, unfortunately, but if you can, comfortable shoes are gonna save your feet a lot because there's gonna be so much more with walking than you think. The Jacobs Javits Center, just the show floor alone, walking it is absolutely huge. So comfortable shoes are a lifesaver if you can swing them. And then the last one, and this is probably the one that I'm honestly the worst about following, is it's never a bad idea to have some cash with you. Sometimes, particularly in Artist Alley, the Wi-Fi signal can go down because I'll go over it, but it's kind of an area in the basement. So for processing vendor payments, it's never a bad idea to have cash with you, particularly if you're someone who's planning on doing a lot of shopping over the course of the weekend. Number 4, plan your schedule. So for me, I always try to approach my Comic-Con weekends, making sure that I have a good plan underneath my feet, but then also understanding just how to be flexible and adapt that plan as things change. The first thing I like to do is download the New York Comic Con official app and then build out my panel programming schedule. So from there, you're gonna see basically all the panels that are happening over the course of the entire weekend. And I like to key in and notch any of the ones that I'm interested in first, and then go in and kind of refine my list down to make sure that I've got a day schedule that's actually manageable. Seeing like 10 hours of panels in a day, it's totally possible. For me, the sweet spot is seeing more like 3 or 4 panels on any given day so that I have a bunch of time to catch all the other exciting things that are happening around the convention. I always also like to have kind of a fallback plan in there. So if I'm like, hey, I really want to see this panel on the main stage, I didn't get a reservation to it, so there's a chance I might not be able to see it. I want to have kind of a plan B that I can easily flex to in case things don't go exactly how I was thinking they would. When it comes to choosing which panels you want to see, for me, one of the biggest indicators on if I'm going to really enjoy the panel is just who's the attendees on the panel. I really always key off who the speakers are at any given panel to tell me if I'm going to enjoy the experience. I personally always like to look for the panels that are being led by industry experts, thought leaders in their space, people who are actually working in comic book or entertainment space. For me, those are the ones that I personally get the most enjoyment out of seeing. But there are a whole bunch of great community conversations. So if you're someone who's really active in a niche community, you want to get involved in a debate or a dialogue about them, those panels can also be excellent. It just kind of depends on what you're looking for your NYCC experience. Another important thing to consider is transit time. The convention center, it's extremely large, so from getting to point A to point B often takes some time. In addition to that, you gotta factor in that there will be lines for most panels that form well before the panel starts. So your average panel, lines will start forming anywhere 20 to 30 minutes before. Some of them you can walk right into, but really popular panels, folks can line up more than an hour before the start time. Make sure you're accounting for that travel time, lineup time for the panel, and then the panel length itself when you're building out your weekend schedule. One other activity to make some time to schedule in that I'll recommend to you is making time to see the cosplay meetups. Even if you're not cosplaying. For me, I love to go see my favorite fandoms and see all the incredible cosplayers. They're all grouped together in one spot. It's a chance to get an amazing photograph with some of the cosplayers, to get that amazing group shot. So even if you're not dressing up yourself, make sure you attend some of these cosplay meetups, at least 1 or 2 in your weekend. As I mentioned with the idea of having your primary plan and then a backup plan, I do think it's really important to stay flexible and open throughout the course of the weekend. Some things will not go exactly how you expected, some new opportunities will emerge. You want to make sure, even though you've built your weekend schedule, you are still keeping it flexible and open to your mind so you can see what the weekend brings to you. Number 5, set your budget and spend it smartly. Hopefully at this point you've already penciled together your budget for those major spends like your lodging and your New York Comic Con tickets. And then of course you've now added on that transit budget that we talked about too. But how much do you feel comfortable spending over the course of the entire weekend? I always try to set for myself an ideal budget. There'll be so many opportunities for incredible shopping over the course of the weekend. If you go in and you don't have any idea how comfortable you are, you definitely can end up overcommitting and spending on some pieces that are maybe a little bit out of that budget range. For the times that I'm tighter on the budget, I like to make sure I take at least a couple rounds on the show floor to see everything before I pull the trigger on some big spends. If you're sticking to a limited budget, you really want to make sure you're spending those dollars smartly. And the chance that you see something at one booth and then all of a sudden see something you like even better a couple booths down, you just don't want to experience that kind of FOMO. The other expense that might sneak up on you is going to be food. Eating in Manhattan is always expensive. It's just never cheap to eat food in New York City, as much as I love all the tasty, great options we have. But then when you add on eating food in a convention center, it gets crazy expensive. The upcharge in the Jacob Jarvis Center is a lot for food, okay? So you need to prepare yourself for that. There is a Starbucks there are a bunch of food trucks that come, so it's totally possible to eat all your meals right there. As long as you're willing to pay a little bit of a higher price tag than that stuff really should normally go for, even for Manhattan pricing. If you are looking to save some money though, I've got 2 hot food tips for you. So one is using the Starbucks that's located right within walking distance to the convention center. You can mobile order to that Starbucks so that it can be waiting for you to pick up, and then you're also gonna avoid the surcharge on the Starbucks that's in the convention center. The other is just to venture out a little bit for a couple of meals. The place that I recommend for quick food is the Shops at the Hudson Yards. It's about a 9-minute walk from the convention center, and yes, a lot of the food there is still major chains or like nationwide chains. Food's generally gonna be tastier, it's gonna be a little bit cheaper, and the lines there are not gonna be crazy long either. Using all these strategies, I promise you, you can get through your entire con weekend sticking to your budget. Number 6, check out these special areas. Of course, you are definitely gonna be wowed by the show floor. The New York Comic Con show floor, I think, is one of the most impressive of any of the cons, at least in the US. It is totally huge, and there's so much great stuff to dig into. But in particular, what's so great about New York Comic Con is the fact that there are so many comic book creators. This really is a comics focused con, where San Diego is more focused on kind of general entertainment, more movies and TV shows. You are gonna get to interact and talk with so many cool comic book artists here, talk with them, see their work. So you wanna make time for that and make sure you seek those out because they're a very special part of the New York Comic Con experience. And of course, one of the best places to do that is in Artist Alley. So Artist Alley, interestingly, is kind of tucked away from a lot of the rest of the show floor in New York Comic Con. You're actually going down these escalators into an area It almost feels a little bit like you're in a basement or a cave when you get in there, but Artist Alley at New York Comic Con is sprawling. So you definitely want to make sure that you have extra time in your schedule to explore it fully. And then I always recommend picking up at least one piece of art from these vendors or these artists, because they really are, to me, what makes, it makes the show so special. And also you're supporting independent artists. Another special area to New York Comic Con is the Cosplay Central area. Me, as a cosplayer, I love this. I love that New York Comic Con does this. Yay! Can more cons do this? You need to take the escalators upstairs to find this. And then once you get up there, you're gonna find lots of vendors. So they'll be selling stuff specific to cosplays. I always have such a fun time exploring here. I'm talking about crafting materials that are gonna make it easier for you to cut into your EVA foam, fabrics, different ribbons. This is a lot of stuff that you're never gonna have an opportunity to see, touch, and buy in person. So I love seeing that. There's also information on cosplay guilds, workshops, and then there's also an opportunity to repair and fix your cosplay if anything happens to your cosplay over the course of the weekend. So cosplayers, you've got a little home and a little support system right built into the con. Last on the specialized spaces is the quiet room. So if you're someone who gets overstimulated, if you just need a chance to get away from the crowds, Comic-Con has carved away this special space where you can go and really decompress. And they're protective, so this is like not a place to go to socialize. It's not a place where you can just like sit down and nom on a sandwich. This is a place really for you to sit quietly. The room this year is located in room 1A05. If you don't know how to get there, just ask a team member, anyone working for the con, and they'll be able to point you in the right direction. Number 7, what happens after dark? So at some cons, you're gonna see the convention kind of like seeps into the city, and there's lots of offsite activations and parties and things happening after the con hours close. New York Comic Con's not really like that. Everything is really kind of self-contained, which I do think is nice because it makes it easier to access a lot of the things that are happening. So your NYCC experience is really gonna start in the morning, and then if you want, it can stretch all the way to 11, 12, 1 a.m., all right inside the convention center. All these things happening in the nighttime, they're just labeled as after dark programming, and you're gonna find them as part of the overall programming schedule on the New York Comic Con website and inside the app too. A couple of the cool things that I'll call out for the year is there is a murder mystery party that's being hosted by Random House. You do have to get there kind of early to get into this though, because the attendance is gonna be pretty limited on the capacity side. There's a paint and sip event. They'll actually be serving alcohol at that one. There's karaoke, there are comedy shows. George R.R. Martin is going to be hosting a short film screening for Howard Waldrop. I mean, really good stuff happening in the After Dark programming, and you don't have to venture out into Manhattan if you don't feel comfortable, because this stuff really is going all night long. Truly a full weekend for NYCC. Now, if you are someone though who is looking for some fun after parties, don't get me wrong, they do exist. So my good friends at Sonic Boom, they do host really great New York Comic Con parties. It's more of like a dancey full-on club experience, but with a really nerdy twist on it. If you're looking for these, the best way to find them are usually on Instagram, and a lot of creators will be attending these and promoting them on their Instagram pages. And I do recommend the Sonic Boom parties, because those are always fun. Well, that wraps up my basics guide to New York Comic Con 2025. If you've got any lingering questions, you can toss them in the comments below. I promise you I'll get to each and every one of them. And until our next fandom adventure, remember, fandom is for any age.